Hey out there in virtual land. This is Sherelle and Derek James with the More Than I Do Virtual Live podcast, where we talk about
being married and in business.
You weren't ready for that picture.
Not at all. You kind of tossed that and I'm juggling here, but okay.
I'll give you a do-over because
No.
we have do-over. So hey, everybody out there. This is Sherelle and Derek James with the More Than I Do podcast, where we talk about
being married and in business. We've been married for 16 years and in business for 8 years together.
So we're so super excited to be here with you today. We definitely have something to say. And so today we wanted to talk to you about finances, politics, and religion. What does it have to do with being married and being in business?
That's a very interesting topic there.
It is. It doesn't seem like they would go, right?
They don't, but it matters because all of those things kind of go to the core of who you are.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly why we're talking about them. And that's exactly what it is. Because at the end of the day, before you're married, before you're in business, you are a person.
You are an individual.
You are an individual that then connects with another.
That's right.
And you become one in marriage. But you're two that become one. And so you still bring your own experiences, ideas, your own politics views, your own financial situation, your own religion or beliefs, we can say.
Yeah. Your own biases.
Your own biases. Yes, absolutely. Yes. To the marriage. But then you throw in the dynamic of not only being married together, but now owning a business together. And a business is another part of you. It's an extension of who you are as a unit. And I'm really talking about those who are married and in business. That becomes an extension of who you are as a unit. So in becoming an extension of who you are as a unit, the business takes on some of those things as well.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It just does, you know. Yeah, I got to think about that.
Okay. I'll keep going then. This is live, folks. This is live. So when we let's talk about finances first, because we're in the financial business. We're there because of experience and expertise and seeing needs in the business of finance, right? Of helping businesses understand their numbers and things of that nature. So our business is My Local CFO. And so it started out as us just helping other people.
Yeah, I think we mentioned in the last podcast or one before, we were both doing our individual type jobs. She was working for the state. I was working for a pharmaceutical company. And then we started doing some projects together and realized that, together we put together a very decent product that actually helps businesses grow.
Yeah.
And so once we found that we worked well together, it was kind of a no-brainer that we would go into business together because we both have a passion of helping others succeed.
Absolutely, 100%. And we always say, if you're in business, that means you provide a solution to society. And we need you here providing that solution, not out of business, because then that means that solution isn't available, no matter if you're a product or service or whatever you do.
Yeah, and that's how, for me, this ties to religion, right? Because I'm a person of faith. And I believe that God gave us a gift. And that gift is not only for us, it's for the world that's out there. And that's why it really frustrates me very much when I hear business owners saying, well, I'm not quite ready, or I see them not doing things properly, because you have a gift and people are waiting for you. They are waiting for you to provide that solution. And every minute that you do not provide that solution, how many people are struggling or dying because you're not doing what you're supposed to do?
That's good. And we definitely talk about that a lot. And one of the reasons that fuels us to keep moving. You went to religion, so let's just stay there for a moment.
Okay.
The other thing is, I remember when you worked in corporate America, and I would be like, babe, I need to pray. Babe, I need to pray. And you'd be like,
you know, it's one of those kind of unspoken things, right? I work for a global pharmaceutical company, and occasionally you would see a couple of people go to the stairwell and pray or just meditate to kind of get away and to kind of recenter themselves from what's going on. But you know, when you're in a corporate setting, sometimes we as a society have become, in my opinion, too politically correct. And so where Sherelle may call me and want to pray, especially if I was having something going on, or if I wanted to pray before I go to a meeting, it was kind of done conspicuously.
Yeah, and you didn't have your own office, so you had a nice cube. It was like an office cube. It was really nice and really big.
Yeah, they did me well. Yeah, I had an office size cube. Basically.
You did, with lounge chairs.
Yeah,
it was nice, but it was still not an office with a door where you could kind of close the door, be private, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I would call, and you would say, "Okay, you do it."
That's right.
Right? You say you pray. And I'm going to listen, and I'm just going to agree on this end. And then leaving corporate America and owning our own business, and not only just owning our business, but moving into a brick and mortar actual location, there are some things that we realized there that we were able to bring from our marriage and home into our business.
Well, yeah, we realized that there was a lot of people hurting, and they were blaming it on the business, but really it was on the inside of them. And they just wanted someone to kind of pray and agree with them that they would start moving in the direction that they felt like they were supposed to be going. So it was a total 360 for me, going from a corporate office to a brick and mortar business that I actually own, because then who's going to fire me? I'm not going to fire myself. She's not going to fire me, because still there's some work that has to be done. So if I don't do it, somebody has to do it.
Especially at that time, yes. Yes. So it became a freedom. And, you know, I have this conversation a lot of times in different networking groups where there were people of faith that said, you can pray in your office. You incorporate, you know, God into what you're doing. And it was one of those things of, we went to see a law office in Winston-Salem, and they had just redone the whole office, meaning like a total rehaul, construction, everything. And one of the things she said to us, and I'll never forget it, they had taken pencil, and on the concrete, before the walls were painted, before the floors had carpet and things of that nature, they wrote different scriptures over everything, like at the sink where you go and get your coffee or get some water and things. It had that scripture, oh, taste and see, you know, that scripture, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good, which is pretty, you know. They wrote love on the wall and just different things all over, and then it was painted, but they knew that they had covered their and it was not just the owners, it was the employees as well, which speaks to culture, right? When we talk about culture, and it doesn't mean that you only have to hire believers. It's not saying that,
right.
But it spoke to the culture of that business, and they had Bible study meetings there, and they worked with the nonprofit. They chose nonprofits each month to be able to highlight and be able to give services to and things of that nature. So that's something that I think a lot of businesses, and the reason why I wanted to touch on it, because I know that there are a lot of believers out there. I'm not saying what you believe in, but there are a lot of believers out there, and in your belief, people don't realize that their business is their business, which means that you can cultivate it the way that you want to and build the culture in who you are. So many people try to separate themselves from the business, and in doing that, you're actually being fake.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know. You're really the same person. right? You're the same person whether you're in your house, you're the same person whether you're around church members, you're the same person if you're around the people that you went to college with. You're really the same person. But oftentimes we try to fit ourselves in the box of who the people we were around, what they expect of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have to go away from that.
Yeah.
Be who you are 100% all day, every day. And that is one roadblock that will propel you in your marriage and in your business.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you're stifling that, when you're stifling who you are, whether it's marriage or business or both, then there's always something on the inside that's kind of nagging at you, right? Because you're not being 100% fully all of you, which means that you're not, it's going to be something that's dying every day, a little bit, pieces of you dying, or it's going to be something that's going to cause you to get angry or frustrated or mad for no reason. And then they're looking at you like you're crazy because all of a sudden you got mad and nobody knows why. What's happened? What's going on? And so, but I really think that you hit the nail on the head when you said it's being all of you and being able to incorporate who you are in the business. And there's creative ways to do that. It's not that we just advertise, come and we pray for you.
Right.
But if we were sitting in front of a person and they were a believer and they're telling us what's happening or what's going on and they needed prayer, we would pray with them. Do you remember there's meetings that we've had and we've been done with a meeting like an hour ago and the person is still sitting in our office, like don't even know why they're still sitting there. And it was because of the atmosphere that we had cultivated in our office. And it was truly, truly that same atmosphere that you get when you come to our home. It's that same atmosphere.
Yeah, we try to create an atmosphere of peace, of peace and rest and restoration, because we know that in order for you to really run, you have to be restored. And so that's what we built in our home. And before you know it, that's what we actually built in our office as well, a place of peace, comfort, and restoration. And just like Sherelle said, when we have visitors sometimes, it's hard for them to leave because they are getting the rest and the restoration that they need. And so figure out what kind of culture are you building.
What kind of culture, what atmosphere are you building? And it still could be, yes, it's virtual. They may not be coming to you right now, but there's still something that you're building in that relationship, in that when you're talking to them phase, the way you handle them, the way you care for them. It's more than just a sale. It's more than just a client. It's more than just, it's a relationship. You know, what is success? Success is built upon relationships and the way that we value them. And I think we've gotten away from a client. Yeah, a client is a client, but guess what? I would be out of business if we didn't have a client.
That's right. So I look at a lot of our, I would say 95% of our clientele, well, actually 100%. I treat them like family.
All of them.
Yeah, I treat them all like family.
Now it may be professional family, meaning, but they all know they can call us. Not just about business, right? And it doesn't mean that we're going to call and sit on the phone and just talk forever and think, that's why I say professional family in that way. But if there's something else that's happening or going on, and especially in our field in finances, because what we know to be true is no matter what you're going through in your finances, the finances are not the problem. It's something deeper than finances. The finances are the place that is coming up in, but finances are not the problem. It goes deeper than that. It's never been that finances were the problem. There's always something deeper underneath that.
Yeah, and the reality of it is, you know, we've had clients that tell us, well, you guys know more about my finances than my spouse does.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, we need to know those things. And so we have to build a relationship, a place of comfort and peace for you to be open with us. Because if you think about it, if you look around your room look around wherever you are right now, everything you're looking at has a dollar value.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need our clientele to be comfortable enough to share everything with us, because everything comes down to a bottom line.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we're
Every
going into
little
the
thing.
finance part.
We are going to the finance part. Every little thing, every big
little
thing,
thing.
including yourself. And you would say, I'm not a dollar amount. Yeah, I wear glasses. I love my red lipstick. We got to wear clothes.
That's
At
right.
some point, I'm going back to the hairdresser.
And the reality is, my time is worth money.
Yeah.
My time is worth a dollar
It's valuable.
value.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the reasons that I don't cut my own lawn now. I can cut my own grass. I mean, I've done it all my life, but the amount of time that it takes me to cut the grass versus paying someone, hands down, not a problem. I need to pay someone because I know my value.
Yeah, they take 30 minutes. You take one whole day.
Well, you know, I'm a little up in age now, so
is that what we're calling it?
You know, it's a whole process, guys. You know, before in my younger days, I could just get up and go cut grass, but you know, I've got a little age on me now, a little gray. So it takes a few hours to get my mind ready that I have to do this task.
Yeah.
Then I do the task, and then my body just doesn't recover as fast. So yeah, I think it takes about a day to cut grass.
Yeah. Day and a half, maybe.
Maybe I'll cut grass again and get a vacation.
Oh, there you go. A week recovery. So, but when we talk about it, and we get into finance portion. So, a lot of people say, let me finish with religion really quick as we go into finances.
Okay. Yeah.
A lot of people say from a marriage, you have to be equally yoked. What does equally yoked mean? Because that's a religious term. You know, that's a religious term. And I just said for the viewers, I know what it means, but for the viewers, you know, I don't take anything for granted for anyone. So equally yoked, what does that mean from a belief or religion standpoint?
Well,
for you,
for me, it just means, it's funny you say that. It means for me that I need to have a spouse that's on the same page, going in the same direction that I have. I'm the path that I'm on.
Okay.
The reason I say that, I was thinking about this a couple days ago. Water brings thoughts to me, guys. Mm-hmm. And so I like going to the ocean and being around water. Yeah. But even in our bathroom, during the time of when I'm taking a shower, the water just brings clarity for me. And I was in the shower and I was thinking, I was like, man, I am glad I married this woman here. But I was thinking along the lines of, you know, you've heard the story of me getting laid off from corporate America.
If they tuned into that episode.
If you tuned into that episode, that's right. Welcome, new viewers. Yeah. But for those that know, once I got laid off from corporate America, that's when we really went full-fledged with my local CFO. Yeah. Up until then, it was a concept. Close friends knew about it, but I hadn't really pushed it because I was comfortable making the corporate money and the corporate insurance and things like that. Yeah. But it got me thinking about a few of the young ladies that I was dating prior to Joelle.
Here we go again, guys.
Yes. But I know for a fact that if I was married to one of them, my local CFO would not exist. Because they would have been so comfortable with me having a corporate job that they would have wanted me to go back and get another corporate job.
So you could have
the consistency and the lifestyle that we could live.
So he always says they would have been happy with the 2.5 kids, the gate, white picket fence.
The white picket fence, the one big vacation a year out of the country or somewhere to a beach somewhere, and a few 3 or 4 day weekends throughout the course of a year.
Good, comfortable life.
A good, comfortable life. But I feel like we're destined for extraordinary life. But not just extraordinary life for us, an extraordinary life for you as well, because we can't be extraordinary without helping others become extraordinary.
Well said. Well said. Well said. So, I was taught, I kind of grew up in church, but didn't grow up in church. So I don't know all the laws and all the things. You grew up more in church than I did. But
Well, the church I grew up was a really country church.
But no, they got laws.
They do got laws.
They got ways. They got ways.
Okay.
I grew up because I traveled and lived so many different places,
That's true.
so I've gone to a lot of different types of churches, I guess you could say, or temples and different things of that nature. And for me, getting married equally yoked was he got to believe like you believe. You got to believe in the same thing. He got to do the same thing. He got to be the same way. If he's not on your level, then that's not the right person for you. And I matured from that piece to understanding that it's deeper, because somebody can say, oh yeah, I believe. Oh yeah, I do. Oh yeah, and not be or do those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a deeper evenly yoke, I think, is your definition of wanting the same things, walking the same path. I believe that in marriage, we help each other grow. We don't complete each other. Let me be very clear.
No.
You are a complete person when you come into the marriage by yourself. Because some people's like, oh, I can help him. I can change him. I can mold him. No, you can't. That's a grown man or a grown woman. No, you cannot. But what we can do is something that I think we've done, and something that the Bible talks about, is iron sharpens iron. Mm-hmm. And if we're both iron, then I think we're evenly yoked. Doesn't mean that I may know the Bible the way that he does, or doesn't mean that he reads his Bible as much as I do, mm-hmm. but we're on the same path and we can sharpen each other together and move. And I think that's just kind of what you just said, mm-hmm. as far as that's concerned. Okay. To wrap this piece up and kind of go into the other piece. We spent a long time on that piece, but it was a good piece. It's something good, I think, that no one ever talks about, but you're who you are in your marriage, who you are, then you go into business and people don't realize it's my business. Mm-hmm. We want to do things decency and in order, and we want to do them according to kind of what our industry is. But it doesn't mean that you have to be 100% like the industry.
That's right.
Because it's your business. That's why you went into business, or you just go be an employee for somebody else and then you do what they want you to do. But I love what Jimmy said here in the chat to us, that he worked with a surgeon that prayed with every family, mm-hmm. and prayed with his employees. He was building a culture. He's building an atmosphere. And I bet you guys were closer. I bet you that his patients were more at ease with him. Mm-hmm. I bet you, and I'm not saying that you have to pray with your clients to make them at ease.
That's right.
But I guess our action item for you guys is, what are you doing to build and atmosphere for your clients and your employees? Or is everything just crazy and a mess and people just doing what they want to do?
Yeah, and also in your marriage.
Hello.
Also in your marriage.
Yes, in the marriage as well. Mm-hmm. So we do. We pray together. Mm-hmm. We read together. We kind of have conversations, and that's going to take me into. Let's go into we're going into finances really quick, and then we'll hit politics. But finances. One of the last episodes that we had, we were talking about when you're married and in business, everything is together except for what's in your bank accounts, because your business bank account should be separate from your personal bank accounts. But outside of that, you're the same person regardless if we're talking marriage or we're talking business. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to go a little bit deeper. We got some questions in after that episode and wanted to go a little bit deeper about bank accounts and mm-hmm. about finances and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. Definitely you should have business bank accounts, and then you should have personal bank accounts. Now, all that we're talking about, it depends. I tell anybody when they say, should we have joint accounts together personally, or should we have individual accounts, or should we have both? Guess what? That's what you and your husband have to decide, what works best for your household. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what mama did. Doesn't matter what auntie, uncle did, or cousin down the street tell you they did and what you need to do. Mm-hmm. It's what works best between the two of you.
Yeah. And I have to be honest, guys. When we first got married, it was tough sledding around here. As we mentioned in some previous episodes, you got to really start tuning in and looking at some of these old episodes. But when we got married, I had the corporate job, and she moved here without a job. Oh no,
I quit my job.
Oh gosh,
I quit my job.
Yes.
To move here to marry you because I loved you so much, and I just couldn't live without you in my world. Plus, you made 3 times as much as I did.
Right. And so in the beginning, we did not run our household like a business. I was such still an individual after I said I do. Being that I made the most money, I would take all the bills with me to the office, and I would pay the bills during my breaks or after the end of the workday. And she had no clue of what was going on. And so
that didn't sit well.
That didn't sit well with her. And it took her to say to me, what if something happens to you? How do I know what bills to pay and what has to be taken care of? Yeah. And once we did that, I realized that I could not continue to operate in that way. And now, even to now, back in today, I'm still paying the house bills, but she's aware of what's being paid and around the time frame that it is being paid. Now, for me, I do believe that sometimes you want a personal bank account. It's not a place for you to stash hundreds of thousands of dollars and hide from your spouse. Chicks. Yes, it is not for that. But it is for, you might want to do something that's a surprise for your spouse. And you don't want to use the joint account or the joint credit card or whatever. Yeah. You want it to be a surprise. So I do think you need a little side extra money, but it's not to the detriment of the household.
Yeah. So let me tell you the other side of that coin. So the other side of that coin is, now imagine I got married, I moved here to a whole nother state. I'm not working, or I was working a little bit, but it was enough to put some change in my pocket, because I don't like asking anybody for anything. That's just, I had a career. I was moving up and doing some things before I moved, and then we decided to get married, and I put that on hold to come and get married and to start a family here in North Carolina with Derek.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Anytime. And so with that being said, I think what he was used to is because one, I wasn't bringing any money in when we first got married. And I had a job offer, and we decided not to take that job offer. It was one that we made that decision together, and that was fine because he made enough to take care of both of us. So at that point, it was no, let's look for something different or something better.
It just wasn't a safe job.
It was not.
It wasn't a safe job.
No.
I mean, they knew you were in probation. See?
No, they don't know.
Okay, so in the
these people don't know us like that.
Her previous life, she was a probation and
parole officer.
Well, probation and parole in North Carolina. Yeah. Then she was a parole officer in the state of Georgia, and that is law enforcement. Yes. In the state of Georgia. Yes. So, she went out on raids and things like that. Yeah. Funny story. I took her home to the country one summer afternoon, and my uncles was outside, and they had their guns, and they were shooting cans off of a barrel. And she said, "Oh, can I shoot?" And of course, all my uncles, they did not know that she was law enforcement at the time. And so they was like, yeah, do you know
little girl.
Do you know how to shoot a gun or whatnot?
Mm-hmm. Let me help you. Let me show you what to do.
And so she went out there and she shot very, very well. Later on in that afternoon, the guys, my uncles and I, we were sitting around playing cards and talking. And one of my uncles grabbed my arm so seriously and looked at me, and he said, son, you better not ever mess up. That girl can shoot. But anyway, the job we turned down is when she came back to North Carolina, she was going to go back into her field of probation and parole, but they wanted to send her out without a gun.
Well, they wanted me to start from the beginning again, and I had been in that field for 4 to 6 years, and they wanted me to start from the bottom.
Well, and the gun did it for me.
But that was starting from the bottom, because if I had started where I was supposed to, I would have been able to carry a weapon.
True.
But nonetheless,
we digress.
Nonetheless, in that, as we're going over our time, nonetheless, in that, it was a place where, number one, there were 2 individuals who have lived adult lives, very adult lives, separately, that are now coming together. And both of us were used to paying bills because I had a house in Georgia. I owned my house in Georgia. So I was used to paying bills for a household. He was used to paying bills for a household. And I'm just not that chick that just lets him take care of everything, because I've heard all of the horror stories of, and maybe that attributes to me hanging out with older people a lot, of their spouse dying and they have no idea about anything. They have no idea. And so my thing was, well, if the lights go out, like if the water or lights went out, and I would call and say, hey, the lights and water went out, did you pay the bill? And then he would be on the phone, and I could see him looking at me like, seriously, did you ask me that? You know I paid the bill. And it could have been that there was an outage or they were working on something. I had no idea. I had no way of knowing anything. So I say that to say, and I bring it up because there was a couple of things that I realized from my side. Number one, there was an attitude of, I'm making the money, you're not, so you don't have any say in the finances, that was coming from his side. But there was also an attitude from my side. I don't care who's making the money. Us is now a we. We are one. So in that way, it doesn't matter who's making the money, because it goes towards the common good and goal of the household. Yeah. With that being said, one of the things that I was able to do is, he still paid the bills, but I put all the email addresses for the receipts in my email address. So I knew when he paid the bills, because my email would start dinging, ding, 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 ding. But that's what you call, when you look at a compromise, or you look at, how do you make this work?
That's right.
As you're working with someone who's dealing with his own, I think it was some masculinity things, I think it was some pride things, who knows what it was, but or just routine. That's what you always did.
There was a little bit of it all.
Learning curve for both of us, but it was a way that I didn't have to get upset. It wouldn't cause a problem. So now fast forward to the business, and being able to, and I'm coming back to separate bank accounts and things of that nature, but the business and understanding what's happening in the business, that goes to an episode that we talked about before, when we talked about roles and responsibilities.
Yep.
And having roles and responsibilities of who's responsible for what, when it comes to not just the operations of the company, but the financial, fiscal responsibility of the company. And ultimately, you're both responsible because you're both owners, but who is that fiscal responsibility going to land with more so, and who's the operational responsibilities going to land with? That's when you look at strengths and weaknesses.
Yep. And you definitely need to do that, whether you're a partner with your spouse or a partner with someone else. You look at your strengths and weaknesses, and wherever you're stronger, those are the tasks that you should write in your partnership agreement. These are the things that I'm going to be responsible for. Because even though we are married and we're in business, we also have a partnership agreement with one another.
I don't know him like that. I need a partnership agreement.
Yeah, anything can happen. Anything can happen. And so when you're spelling out the roles and responsibilities, that also makes you accountable, right? So when something is not in place, you can hold the other person's feet to the fire and say, hey, you said you would take care of this. Right. I mean, the business, especially when you're in a partnership, it doesn't mean you have to do everything yourself. Yeah. You have a partner for that.
That's big. Yeah. Say that again, because I think that's a big learning lesson.
Yeah, it is. You don't have to do it by yourself. I mean, I think I look at business owners, and one of the reasons that they fail is because they try to do everything themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you kind of talk as a person. Pull your boot from the bootstraps, and you do everything yourself. But there's so many times that you could have hired someone like us. You could have hired some other types of help that would have pushed you along so much further, so much faster.
Yeah.
And so I do think that that's a misconceived mindset that a lot of business owners take.
Using the resources around you.
Yeah.
Also in business and in personal, we always talk about we need more money, we need more money, we need more money. Number one, you already have a lot more money than you think you do. And it could be the way you're pricing your structure. It could be where you're spending your money. We spend way too money eating out, way too much money. So we already know if we need more money, guess what? We need to cook a little bit more on the inside, and that will already kind of cut back and give us a lot more money.
A lot more money.
A lot.
But I think from a lot of business owner standpoint, a lot of it comes with pricing, because one, you don't understand your value, and then you don't also understand the value of your services or products. And we got a quote from a person that we're looking to do some things, and we looked at it, and the two quotes that they provided didn't make sense at all.
The technical abilities, and then the consulting. The consulting was $100 less than the technical skills that they were going to do for us, and that's like, that don't even make sense.
Yeah, I would have easily accepted much faster if there was a quote where the technical and the consulting was in one package, and even if it was $300 or $400 more.
Yeah, it could have been the prices together, and it would have made more sense.
It would have made more sense to me. So
yeah, how are you presenting those finances to your client? Also, when you look at your finances, are you only looking at what's in your bank account, or are you pulling reports? So here, I'm in charge of operations. He's the fiscal responsible one. So what do? As in charge of operations, I say, hey, Mr. CFO, I need to see some reports. What's happening with this? And we actually have scheduled meetings to talk about the finances, what's happening from a family, personal standpoint, and from a business standpoint. Not at the same meeting. Those two different meetings. Right. I can't do all that in one same meeting. Yeah. But we do have those times to meet and actually talk, and then talk about what other opportunities are out there that we want to pull more money in, or how can we diversify, or what are some products or services that we're looking at doing from the operational side, so that we're both on the same page and we're moving together in that way.
Yeah, that's important, because I've seen between our company and clients that we help, the service that they do the most of, they had the least profit in.
Yeah.
And so then when they kind of took that service out of the rotation, they began to make more money, because they were actually doing some of the things that they really wanted to do. But a lot of times, some of these ancillary products or services just tend to keep falling in your lap, but there's no profit margin in it. So it's not really worth you're doing it, because you're spending way more time doing that service or product.
So now let's talk about business first, spending money. So that's bringing money in. Let's talk about spending money. And how do we decide where that money's spent? If there's a small dollar amount, we don't consult each other about that, the smaller dollar amounts. But we do consult bigger dollar amounts. What would you consider a bigger dollar amount that we would consult each other on?
I don't know, a few $1,000s for new software, or things that we would use to enhance the business. Those type of things we talk about more, and large equipment, computer purchases or things like that. If it's just a subscription to CFO magazine or something, no, we don't stop and have a 30-minute meeting about that. But yeah, just some of your larger things, some of the software type stuff.
So it will also depend on what your revenue is and kind of where your profit margins are when you set those limits. So for us, a couple $1,000s works. For someone else that may be starting or may not have as much revenue coming in, or the profit margins coming in, $100 to $200
Maybe.
may be where you start talking about things.
That's true.
It may be everything needs to be talked about right now because we're just like,
That's right.
so it's really understanding and coming to that agreement with each other on that. Now, what happens when one spouse, because if it's happening at home, it's going to happen in the business, where they're not as good financially and they're not being as responsible as they should be with the money.
Then the one that's more responsible has to sit down with the other spouse, and you have to hash it out, and hopefully that you can be honest with one another and say, look, I know you're trying, but you're really struggling at this.
Yeah.
And that's where communication comes in. You have to be able to take criticism from the person that you love or the person that you're in business. Like she said, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
You can't get sharp if someone criticizes you and it hurts your feelings.
Well, it may hurt your feelings, but it's the way you react to it and the way you take it in. Because sometimes we have uncomfortable conversations. That was one of our last episodes, uncomfortable conversations. And so then it'd be uncomfortable and I might not like it, but
agree to disagree and move forward.
And move forward, yes. All right, so last piece for this, and then we're going to go to religion really quick and get out of here. And so that is when we talk about bank accounts personally. Separate, together, both.
Okay.
Households should always be taken care of first. That's what I believe. What about you?
Yeah, of course. Because if you don't take care of the household, then where are you going to live?
Same thing in business, right?
Same thing.
Business has to be taken care of first.
Yep. The business must pay for itself.
Yes.
And the funds that you bring into the house, you must take care of the household first.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yep.
So I hope that clears that up on that. Before we have fun, and let me talk about organized money really quick. So organized money, we formulate this in business, but we do also have a personal side. So business side, organized money, the business support. At some point in life, the business should support itself. That means everything that it needs, all the expenses for the business, and this needs its own bank account, because if it's intermingled, then guess what? You can't really tell what's business, what's not. So to be true to your business and be a good business owner, to grow the business, you want to make sure that the business can support all the expenses. That includes labor. That includes labor. The second thing is you're in business to make money to pay yourself. So the second thing is the business must pay the owner. At some point, it must get to a point where it's paying the owner, or you're just doing the business in vain and you're going to get tired and you're going to close the doors anyway.
Yeah, and that's pay the owner as an owner, not as a laborer in the business.
Thank you, babe. That's true.
Yeah.
Number 3, the business must say, there is a rainy day coming. Hello, COVID-19. Did we see it coming? There is a rainy day coming. So we want to make sure that we have savings. And then number 4, we want to invest. So investing on a lower level would be into process, systems, support, like admins or virtual admins or contractors, things of that nature. It can go up to like 401ks and different things to kind of shore up the foundation and to give benefits. And then it can go to where investing can be mergers and acquisitions and taking over companies and buying new things and real estate and things of that nature, because organized money is always cyclical. You're always growing, which means you always have to go back to make sure the business can pay for itself as you add new products and services, you're going to want more money and you're going to have to save more because now you have more assets that you need to protect, and then back to investing in more. So let me show you how that works on the other side.
On the personal side, yeah.
On the personal side, we want to, number 1, take care of needs, essential needs. Yes, getting my hair done is not an essential need.
Not in COVID anyway.
Not in COVID anyway. But it is because I could do my hair myself, right? So no, just being honest with what are my essential needs and making sure those are taken care of. Then number 2, small wants. Okay, this is where my hairdo comes in. Or my buying some extra lipsticks or something, or going to the movies or taking the kids out to somewhere and enjoying, or a small mini vacation, small wants. Then number 3, save. because there's still a rainy day is coming. And then number 4 is invest. Now, the difference is if you have someone that's working a job as well, they may be already investing in 401k and things of that nature. So not including those, because that's already happening, but then you business owners being able to invest in your own kind of insurances, outside of the ones that the business needs. That's already taken care of on the business side. But investing in the things that you need, for 401ks for you, health insurance, life insurance, different things like that, on up to mergers and acquisitions personally, like buying real estate or buying, I don't know, what else could you buy? Investing in the home and upkeep of the home and different things like that, buying stocks and bonds and different things like that. Yes. Okay. So that's that. Go ahead.
Oh, so we have a couple of questions. Do we share the individual balances, and do we move money back and forth in your personal accounts? Yes.
Those are good questions. Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So do we share individual balances? Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, most of the time.
I don't know what's in his account, and he kind of knows what's in mine.
Yeah.
But it's not, we don't care. I don't care. As the bills are taken care of, we've done whatever, we've gotten paid, our paychecks come, we have our money. I don't really care what's in his account.
That's right. And she always says, I can't hold water. So I end up telling her what my balance is and saying, hey, I've saved this amount. Let's go do this, or let's go do that.
So it's not like it's a secret. So let me be clear about that. It's not like it's a secret.
It's not a secret, and it's not a contest of who can save the most of their personal money.
No, and we'll pull up our bank accounts in front of each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, let's look, let's see, type thing.
Yep.
Do we move money back and forth in our individual personal accounts? I'm going to say no. And the reason why I'm going to say no, do we move money to our personal accounts? Yes. So we actually do payroll. So we get paid a paycheck from our company. And in getting paid a paycheck, that's my money and that's his money. But we have bills. So we have a joint bank account that we started before we got married. It started as the wedding account. Mm-hmm. We had a joint account as a wedding account, and then we decided to keep that account when we got married as the house account where the house bill money goes. So depending on who owes what for the house or who pays what for the house. And again, that's a personal decision in your house of who does what. I don't believe in equal 50-50 because remember when we first got married, I had no job. He made 3 times as much as I did when I got a job and the job I had in Georgia. And so equal I would have no money. Like we would be in the negative waiting for me to equal that. So I believe in equity and not equal. Mm-hmm. It also depends on just the dynamics of your household and what else is coming in and different things like that. So we have decided, okay, this is how much we're going to get. You put that much in this and you put that much in, and we just kind of do that. And then the rest of the money is our own money. Mm-hmm. We don't move. And that's what I mean by we don't move that back and forth. We don't keep moving money back and forth. That doesn't happen. The bank, we don't take all of the money out of the business.
That's right.
We get a paycheck just like anybody else gets a paycheck. And then the business has the money to run the business and all the things that the business needs to do. Because remember, number one, the business has to pay for itself. And you never want to drain the business 100% of all the money that's in there because savings, rainy days coming, and you're going to need to invest in other things. Yeah. So like I'm looking at brand strategy right now, and that's an investment, right? That's not something of every day to operate the business. We have to have money somewhere to pay for that. It's not coming out of my personal account. It's going to come out of the business account.
That's right. So
the business is working and doing those things. Mm-hmm. That's it. So politics, the last one really quick.
Okay.
Politics. Where do you stand on especially with the climate of things that are happening, things that are going on now? We have some interesting conversations here at the house as it deals with politics, as it deals with what we believe. And it goes back to our morals, our characters, our beliefs, our experiences, those types of things. Mm-hmm. How do they play into the marriage and the business?
Well, I think it's more of an internal conversation. I don't think it affects the business or the household or the marriage it's just something we discuss, because my views on it is, one, I believe that there is a way to get along. I think both sides, we really need someone in the middle, because both sides, they're more focused on winning than actually coming to a compromise harmoniously and moving the country forward. I say that to say, as a business owner, my internal struggle as a business owner is, one side is clearly for business and business growth, but the other side really has the programs to help my people. So that's where I kind of get conflicted in the political setting.
Is it conflicted, or is it that you kind of sit, you need both sides?
Yeah, you need both sides.
I don't think that's conflicted. I think it's just that there's answers. Not one side has the answer.
That's right.
We have a lot of conversations in our house because our experiences have been totally different. Me being in law enforcement and being female and being the only African American in law enforcement for several years before others came on, and being in Middle Georgia in law enforcement during the time of when the flag came down is just interesting in itself. And then different jobs that I've had within the state of North Carolina that led me to rural areas here, experiences that I had that you hadn't had. Right. And one thing that I realized is when we go vote, so we vote as a family. That's one thing we do together. We vote as a family. We believe in voting and we vote as a family. But at the polls, your vote is your vote. Mm-hmm. It's your vote is your vote. Yeah. It's not our vote. It's your vote as an individual. So we go as a family to support each other and to show our kids, and I'll do this, our kids, show our kids that that's the right thing to do, right? And to bring them up in that way. But at the same time, when we get there, he does his thing, I do my thing, and neither one of us can tell you, even when we're preparing to vote and we're looking, we have like sample ballots where we go ahead and kind of figure out who we're going to vote. We don't even compare or share those, nope. And because I respect whatever his vote is, that's his vote as an individual. And I think so much in marriage, we get caught up in, we have to be one all the time, that we lose the individualness. And then that's what causes problems, because then we tired of seeing each other as one. And I need some individual time.
That's right.
And so voting for us is a family thing. We have pictures every year of us voting with our I vote, but it's an individual thing at the poll. Yeah. Now for the business, and especially in this climate, because businesses have been called out for what they're doing and what they're not doing. And I have a whole nother opinion on that I'll say for a whole nother show. But as individuals owning the businesses and being small business owners, that we are impacted by that. Mm-hmm. Your business is impacted by that. I made the choice to do a series that's called The Voices of a Black Man. And it's not about racism. It's not about hate. It's not about politics. It's not about what anybody should or should not do. It's truly, I saw the Black man's narrative being told, but the Black man wasn't there to tell it himself. It's being told by everybody else. Mm-hmm. And so I created a safe haven, respectful platform for Black men to be able to tell their stories through their lens. And that's pretty much what it is. And at the end, I say, you've seen them, you've heard them. Now it's up to you to check whatever biases that you have that maybe have come out as you listen to them, and then put actions to them. So I'm hopefully making change in everyone over biases. But that comes from me. My father's Black, my husband's Black, I raised a Black boy. If I have children, if I have a son, he'll be Black. My uncles are Black. So I have a vested interest in that. And one of the conversations that we had was, well, what happens if we have a client that doesn't agree with that platform?
Mhm.
And we had a serious conversation about that. But the conversation lended itself to, guess what? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Because at the end of the day, then they may not be the right client for us.
Mhm.
They may not be the right client for us. So you have to decide for yourself, because we know that every client is not for us.
Mhm.
If we treat our clients like family, and our clients are not all Black.
That's right.
Right? We have all types of clients, all different ethnicities of clients.
Mhm.
And we love them all the same. We have great relationships with them, and know their families, and know things about them, and all of that stuff. Celebrate fun things that happen in their lives with them.
Mhm.
But as it comes to the point of they feel where our stance is not the right stance, and they want to leave, then we respect that.
Yeah. Yeah. Every client is not for you, but when you do take a stance, you do need to have that conversation with your partner, because what if I didn't agree with with the series that she's doing, because I thought it may affect our bottom line, but it doesn't. But you got to have that conversation,
And it may in the future.
because you may upset a partner that can cause some division in your organization as well.
Yeah.
And it may not be a
And
series
in your
of
marriage.
that, but and in your marriage.
Because
yeah.
that partner is your spouse.
That's right.
Guys, this has been
Yes.
wonderful. We thank you for tuning in. This is the More Than I Do Virtual Live podcast. We want to thank Every.Black for being the platform that brings this to you every single Thursday.
Yep.
If you don't know about the organization, go to Every.Black. There's no .com. It's just www.every.black, or just put in Every.Black.
Mhm.
Jimmy Davis is the founder, and his sister Kim. They do an excellent job of making sure business owners are networking and getting resources and learning a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the reasons why we have this podcast on right now. It's because of them. Mm-hmm. If you have if you want to know more information, if you have questions, or if you're a couple that wants to come talk to us and be on More Than I Do, then guess what? www.morethanIdo.life. That's LIFE. MorethanIdo.life is where you want to go and check us out there. Yep. Hope you've enjoyed this episode.
Yep. Check us out also at mylocalcfo.com. That is our company. So they sponsor this as well.
Yep, Every.Black and mylocalcfo.com or mylocalcfo are sponsors. We look forward to coming to you next Thursday, 7 p.m. If you've enjoyed this, not only do you come back, but tell somebody else so that they can watch this, share it with somebody else. All right, we want to hear from you. What your takeaway is, what questions you have, what you would like for us to talk about. Mm-hmm. And until next Thursday, we say have a wonderful night.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.